comedian who our wonderful rabbi recommended for us. Our comedian tonight was the grand prize winner of Comedy Central's national stand-up competition and has appeared on Last Comic Standing, The Learning Channel, Comedy Central's Premium Blend, and other shows that have long since gone off the air. He also enjoys long naps on the beach. Please help me welcome the very serious Robert Mack.
Hooray!
Hey, everybody. Hello. If somebody could spotlight me, that would be great. Hi, I'm Robert Mack from robertmack.com. Great. There you are. So nice to see you. Welcome to Comedy Night. This should be a lot of fun. And I want to emphasize, should. I want to thank you for being here. I know you didn't have to. You could have just turned your brain off and stuck your head in front of that rectangle with the endless parade of changing characters that turns your brain into mush, right? Yeah, stupid books. Can books talk to you and show you moving pictures? I don't think so. Save a tree, watch TV. That's my message to you tonight. Yeah, I have a lot of good ideas like that. My brain is so dense with ideas, I don't want to make it sound like I'm bragging, but I'm probably the densest person here. In fact, one of America's smartest doctors is so interested in my great ideas that she interviews me every week from her office for nearly an hour. During our last interview session, she calls them sessions because they're obviously like music to her ears. I call them obsessions because she writes down everything that I say. And she asked me, Robert Mack from robertmack.com, if your house were on fire and you could only remove one thing, what would it be? And as always, there are no right or wrong answers. And I said, well, I'd probably remove the fire. Which I believe is the right answer. All right, that's more like it. Welcome, everyone. I have to tell you, when I was a kid growing up, I spent Saturday night alone in my bedroom pretending to be a comedian. And now my dream has come true. So this is great. I hope you guys are ready for some fun here. I was driving around the area and I went by Gillette Stadium, and I noticed that they're giving vaccines there, which I thought was great. I think it's an important symbol. I think it's an important safety measure that everyone needs to take. And I just think it's nice that we finally have something positive come out of Gillette Stadium in the last year. So that's too soon on that one? Okay. I am looking forward to this pandemic ending, and I'm glad that we have a new vaccine to help. And I'm just ready for it, because I think if people stay indoors any longer, yeah, the COVID rate's going to drop, but the murder rate is rising, and I think it's going to go through the roof. And how do you convict those people? Because everyone's got gloves these days. There's no fingerprints or DNA samples, and to get rid of evidence, that's easy. That's what bleach is for. Clorox was invented to get rid of annoying roommates that you're cooped up with. Think about it. Everybody these days has a mask and gloves and industrial cleaners. That's a serial killer starter kit right there. So here's a safety tip. If you're staying with somebody who has started to binge watch that show, Dexter, just next time you take out the garbage, just drop it off and keep going, because you might be the next thing on their to-do list. So little safety tip for everyone these days. And I have to tell you, I see all these people that are coming in, and we're at like 100 people here. Being here tonight is a real treat for all of you. So thanks again for coming here. I drove up and I live in the DC area, and I got here and there's nobody here, obviously. I don't know, I didn't get the memo, but there was an accident on the big road on the way here, number 95, and it's a big road. And I don't think anybody got hurt, but you know what it's like when there's an accident and the traffic is backed up. I didn't know how long. I'm lucky to be here tonight, all right? Almost as lucky as you are, because not everybody knows how to drive on the big road. So I thought maybe I'd explain it. So why don't you guys sit down and listen up? Okay, the big road is a tapestry of lanes. Okay, there's a passing lane. And when you want to pass someone, you get in the passing lane and you pass them. It's pretty simple when you think about it, but not everybody does, because sometimes a car will be in the slow lane. And if a car is in the fast lane, but cars in the slow lane are going faster than you, my friend, are a hole in the tapestry. Okay, you're a pass hole, and maybe you should stay on the little roads until you're ready to bring your game to the big time. Okay, I'm not a good driver, I'll admit it. I'm probably the only person who ever lost control driving through a mirage. Yeah, I didn't even see it. Robert, the American, famed American poet Robert Frost once told me a story about taking a fork in the road. Yes, he did. He said, 2 roads diverge in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing. But there are some times that people on the big road think that anytime a lane next to them opens up, that it's a fork in the road, and they have to take the fork in the road. So they'll be in this lane for a minute, and then this lane opens up, and they get into that lane for half a second, and they notice that there's an opening over here where they were, and they take the fork back into that lane. Hey, just because it's a tapestry doesn't mean you have to weave the whole time, okay? Stupid forkers. I told you, I'm not that strong of a driver. Robert Plant of the Led Zeppelins once told me a story about taking a fork in the road. Yes, he did. He said, yes, there are 2 paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. And it makes me wonder, how you got your driver's license in the first place, because between you pass holes who are crawling in the wrong lane and you forkers who are darting back and forth, leaving behind a trail of swears and middle fingers, it takes me forever to get to my job of being a professional communicator, of which being good at, I am one of them. Guys, I'm a motivational speaker, and I'm really good. I speak to people, and 5 minutes later, they're on their feet, motivated out of the building to do something better with their lives. Sometimes they're even running. That's how good I am. The longer people spend around me, the happier they are with their own lives. And I have the surveys that back that up. Okay, I motivate people to do good things, and I wean them off of their bad habits. I'm a huge wiener. You can go online, Google up huge wiener, make sure you spell it right, and tell me what you see. Okay, probably moi. All right, I have the key that unlocks doors in people's minds. Why do you think they call me dorky? Okay, because my mom had my Star Wars action figures locked up in another room. No, that's just a coincidence. It's because I open doors in people's minds and I bust tables at Applebee's. Okay, but you don't have to believe me. That's fine. I do my lectures and seminars all over North America, and people go out of their way to send feedback about what a great experience they had being around me. This one guy said that his life was like a broken down house, and I was this huge hammer that helped him refix up his house. That's not what he said. Hold on. What he said was, this guy's a big tool. Yeah. At your service. All right. They go out of their way to send me these comments. Here's another one. I want those 2 hours back. You see? Can't get enough of me. You've proven to me that anyone could do anything, no matter what little talent you have. Well, I'm glad you were able to learn that about yourself. This one's great. The presentation was laughable. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Here's one. Have you had any training at this at all? They think I'm a natural. Yeah. This one came in recently. My lawyers will be contacting you. Yep. I smell a movie deal. I'm not a doctor. Do we have any doctors here tonight? I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a doctor, but I help people with their ailments. Somebody said, "You've cured my insomnia." I didn't get that one at first either. This one's super. It was like listening to a fax machine, because that's what I am. I'm a machine full of facts, and that's how I'm able to motivate people. Is one fact at a time. And here's a great fact. You might want to jot this down. We're at a time right now, I think, we're in the middle of winter, but down the road, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Things are going to open up. So here's a great idea that you can jot down. As soon as you put those chips away, you can jot this idea down and put it on a little yellow sticky thing, and you can put it up on your computer screen or put it on the fridge so you see it every day. And it's a quote. You've probably heard this one before. It takes 26 muscles to frown at somebody, right? But only 6. It only takes 6 muscles to text them a colon with a frowny face. I don't see anybody writing these down. Okay. Here's another interesting fact. I read this on YouTube just the other day. 1/5 of the world is Chinese. Yeah, I was speechless too, because that's almost 20%. So look where you're sitting. If the 2 people next to you aren't Chinese and the people in front and behind you aren't Chinese, guess what, Yao Ming? You're mathematically Chinese. Ni hao, zai chin. It's all statistics, everybody. Last week was Chinese New Year. Did anyone celebrate? You see some hands out there? Okay. It was, somebody told me it was a year of the ox, and I said bull, and they said, no, it's true. It's year of the ox. I didn't celebrate this year. A couple years ago, somebody said I should check out the Chinese New Year. And so I flew to San Francisco. It was around Valentine's Day. I flew to San Francisco because they have the largest Chinatown in the world. That's a fact. There are larger ones in China, doi, but over there, they're just called towns. Otherwise, would be redundant. Anyway, it was Year of the Dog, and I flew to San Francisco, but I partied like it was dragon. Oh yeah.
Weird way you're doing comedian.
Mugu Gaipan out the yin yang. I tell you, all you can eat, and dim sum, and then they clear the plates. And all I have left is that government issue Chinese
Yeah, me too.
placemat right there. I don't know if you can all hear me.
I think about being on stage somewhere.
Okay. No, I got it. Okay, I was unmuted there for a second. Something happened there. I was in Chinatown in San Francisco, and I was looking at my placemat, and it said very clearly, it said, Happy New Year. And it was the middle of February. And that to me is a red flag, a big one with yellow stars, if you know what I mean. All right, because I don't think the first day of the new year should be hiding in the middle of the second month. There's something going on. I haven't figured out what it is, but I know that if you control the calendars, you can control the economy. And I think there's something going on with the Chinese New Year. It's a mackerel, if you know what I mean. A mackerel, it's a little fishy, okay? Here's the deal. I have a lot of products that I have bought that were made in China that have a 1-year warranty. Like I bought air conditioner for global warming, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna say, hey, my air conditioner broke and you need to replace it. It's supposed to last until 2022. And they're gonna say, oh no, that expired in snake or whatever. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing something. And I did a little research. Turns out Chinese New Year starts on a different day every year. Maybe it's the middle of February, maybe it's June 52nd, but it always manages to end up on the day of a parade. Yeah, that's another red flag. So I did a little bit more research, and what I found out, you might want to sit down for this. What I found out was pretty revealing. Not only does the Chinese New Year start on a different day every year, I looked at my birthday. I was born in January, which is the best month to have a birthday because you don't have to wait as long. Also, it's the time of year when you get a fresh start. So like January 2nd this year, I joined a health club because I decided this year I really want to lose about $30 a month. So I did a little bit more research, and according to my placemat, according to the Chinese calendar, I was born in Year of the Monkey. But when I looked it up online, Year of the Monkey didn't start that year until February, which means when I came out, it was still goat and I'm a little bit upset about there. I got demoted from monkey to goat. You guys remember when Pluto used to be a planet and then it got demoted to goat? It's the same thing. I got demoted. I've been living a lie all of these years. I thought it was skillful and flexible and creative. No, it turns out I'm compassionate and fancy and I like rabbits, but I don't like rabbits and I don't like people telling me to like rabbits. So I said, we're done. Okay, sayonara, China, I'm boycotting you. So I flew home from San Francisco and I came home and I went to my doctor's office because it's none of your business. All right. But anyway, I'm in the waiting room at the doctor's office and I was reading this little pamphlet. It was a tiny pamphlet. It was like a pamphlet. And the pamphlet said that 1 out of every 3 Americans is morbidly obese. So once again, look where you're sitting, 1 out of 3. Okay. If the person sitting on your left and the person sitting on your right is the same person, then you're probably not morbidly obese, but you might want to step out of their feed zone for a minute, because it's not that we're getting more obese people. It's just that non-obese people are disappearing in snack-related incidents at an alarming rate. So be careful. That was my trip to Chinatown. I flew to England yesterday. Okay, hold on. It was true the first time I told it, and I'm trying to be in the moment, make my experience more authentic for you people. So sit down and listen up. I flew to England yesterday. It was summer, obviously, and I don't know if anyone has been there. I was expecting something else. It was kind of cold and bleak and gray, and the lines for all the museums are really long. And, the traffic is backwards, and that was very confusing. And the locals are a little off-putting, and the food is notoriously bad. But other than that, I had a pretty good time, except for the things I could see and touch and taste and experience through my senses. And there is a rumor, which may or may not be true. I call it a trumor. The trumor is England was so busy conquering the world that they never learned how to cook, and they would just take over cuisines of all the other places that they went to. And so keep that story in mind next time you go to England and try the food. And here's a little food tip for you guys. Very simple, basic cooking tip. If you want food to taste better, put something better on it. It's very simple. Chocolate cake, what could be better than that? Chocolate frosting. All right, bingo. All right, some people, hamburger, how can you top that? Bacon. All right, in England, they put vinegar on the food to make the food taste better. Just to give you an idea of how low the bar is there. Vinegar improves the taste of the food. Yes, the same vinegar you use to get the hard water deposits off of the bathtub. Yes, that makes the food taste better in England. And I didn't know that going in, and I just fell for what they said. They said you should get the full English breakfast. We've been serving the same breakfast for 2,000 years, which sounds very impressive until you realize there have been a lot of culinary advancements in the last 2,000 years, like the invention of flavor, for instance. So I don't know if anyone there tonight here remembers the full English breakfast. And it wasn't the greasiest breakfast I ever had. It was the greasiest food, period. How'd you find your meal, love? Oh, I just looked under the pool of oil. This is what you get with the full English breakfast. You get a couple eggs, runny side up. Okay, whatever. Pork and beans at breakfast? Yes, indubitably. More of those, please. More beans, please. Pork sausage or blood sausage, whichever sounds deliciouser to you, at 6:30. And bacon, and it's not skinny American bacon. It's that thick Euro style and plate hogging, artery clogging, baby got back bacon, baby. And then 1 slice of tomato, which tastes like fish. I don't know how they do it. It's some sort of fish-ish dish. And on a separate non-cholesterol plate, you get toast. And I thought, well, thank goodness. How can you mess up toast, right? Well, let me count the ways, because over there, it comes out burned and cold, yet dry and flavorless. And they cut it into triangles. So really what you have is a plate full of these little wheaten trowels. used to transport the fat and cholesterol from the plate to the gob. And that's what they call it. And that's what they eat every day, eggs and beans and sausage and bacon. And I'm no healthologist, but I don't think you should be starting your day with 4 foods from the lard group. That's probably not good for your inside. They should just give you like a pig and a cup of tea, because that's really all they were serving there. It was disgusting. I said, forget that. I'll have some cereal. But every time I ordered Cheerios, the waiter would leave. That wasn't everybody. If you could please explain that one to the quiet people. Okay. I do travel a lot, and I used to, I guess, not much more. I grew up, though, outside Seattle in a little town called Tucson, Arizona. And when people hear I'm from a border state, they say, oh, immigration's probably a big problem, but it's not, because I happen to know a lot of stuff, all right? I didn't graduate from the University of Arizona with a degree in international studies at all. But I listen and I read a lot of stories on Instagram, and I know immigration's not a problem. It's a combination of problems with a capital Z. That's too much for most people to wrap their brain around. Well, lucky for you, my brain is flexibler than that. Yeah, you say think outside the box. I say how high? All right, immigration is actually 2 problems. 1, we got a bunch of people who want to be in our country because we're number 1. And B stands for border. We have a border that's too long to protect. Have you looked at a map recently? It's a 2,000-mile dotted line. Well, no wonder so many people are getting through. It's a dotted line that's 2,000 miles long. Hola. Do you know how long the Panama Canal is? Probably not. It's only 10 miles. See, I told you I happen to know a lot of stuff. Now, the other day, after morning nap, my mom, Pat, came down from the basement, even though she's not allowed to, without permission. But she said I should share my great ideas with the American people because I'm a problem thinker and I've got the doctor's note to prove it. But I didn't come here today to talk about Pat because she's not the boss of me right now. I came here to tell you that when we issue my shorter border order, we won't have to worry about immigration anymore. It's simple. We move the border to the Panama Canal, which is short and very secure, what with all the locks they have down there. And then we take over all the countries between here and there. Panama, Mexico, all the other ones. So all the people who want to come here to America won't have to come here because they'll already be here, except down there where they are already. But now they'll be paying taxes to Uncle Sam instead of Uncle Samuel or whoever, I don't know which relative is in charge of that, but we'll make a bunch of money in taxes and the border will be shorter and easier to keep in order. You're totally welcome. Okay. I just killed 2 birds with 1 stone because that's how I roll. I'm Robert Mack and I kill birds. I travel all over the country. Well, now virtually, because I'm virtually funny, and I travel and do shows for all sorts of people. I've met a lot of red people and I met a lot of blue people. And I think we need more purple people like Prince. In honor of Prince's memory, I think America's forecast calls for some purple rain, because right now our country is bipolarized. It's black and white and gay and straight and young and old and male and female. And we need something more like Prince, whatever that was, more of that, please, because the 2-party system doesn't work. Or maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just like my mom, Pat. She's never satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? Do you even know what it sounds like when doves cry? I do, because I kill birds. We just went over that, everybody. I can't go any slower than that. Here's what I miss the most, I think, about growing up out west. I was in Bryce Canyon in southern Utah. Has anyone been to Bryce Canyon? It's David. I see David raising his hand. All right. David, you're never mind. You're muted. If you haven't been to Bryce Canyon, it's these red sandstone arches and towers. It's where they filmed the Roadrunner cartoons. Back when they filmed cartoons on location, before all the animal rights protesters came in and shut down the Acme rocket skate company once and for all. And it's beautiful, but it's Utah. So they say it's be Utahful. Well, it's not be Utahful when you're camping in a slot canyon and there's a cloudburst flash flood. They kicked us all out. I had to get a hotel nothing fancy, just a room in this little mom and pop and mom 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 place right outside Salt Lake City. Why do you think they're called Mormons? They've got, once again, I don't think that was everyone in the room. If you could please explain that one to the quiet people. I'm looking forward to for this year to really kick into gear here. There's an old saying that I just invented, which is 2020 is hindsight. And it is. And I don't know about you guys, I had a tough year. There was the, what do you call it? Pandemic. There was the pandemic. And then I lost most of my work. And then there was the kitchen fire and a rotator cuff operation, and then the spinal infection, which sounds pretty bad, but in all honesty, it only affected my spine and the parts of my body connected to my spine. And how I discovered it was it started to hurt when I ran and then walk and then sit and then lie down and change positions. So I couldn't stand it anymore. Oh, and it would hurt when I would try to stand also. And one day, it took me an hour to get out of bed. And I'm no doctor, but that caught my attention. That's one thing. When comfort is one of those things you really don't notice until it's gone, like democracy or your pants. And I talked to my doctor, and we decided to get an MRI that day, and it happened to be a Friday. And she said, we have to do it Friday because the pain was really getting bad, and I didn't think I could make it to Monday, and I couldn't do it on the weekend because my insurance doesn't work. It only works during the week, so I can't get sick or injured on a day that begins with S. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's really inconvenient, but it's 2/7 cheaper than the full week insurance. So anyway, we find a lab, and I drive to the lab and I get the MRI. And if you don't know what an MRI is, it's like lasers, and it's like an X-ray, 3D X-ray with lasers. Once again, I'm going to remind you that I'm not a medical professional, but it's very cool, and they use lasers. And they took my MRI, and then I was driving home and my phone rang, and I generally don't answer the phone in my car, but sometimes, I'm lonely. And so I answered the phone, and they said, is this Robert Mack from robertmack.com? And I said, yes, of course. They said, the guy said, I just looked at your MRI. You need to go to the emergency room. And I'm going to call times real quick. It's called the emergency room, but on all the paperwork, it just says, Okay, time's back in. So the guy's very calm, and he says, you need to go to the emergency room. And then I freak out. I said, what? And then he got all panicky. He said, yes, you have an infection. It's spreading. It's treatable, but it could get worse. So it's very mercurial. So get yourself to an emergency room. And I said, mercurial, like Mercutio, the character who's really moody in Romeo and Juliet, whose own erratic behavior ultimately leads to his own downfall. And he said, yes, they both derive from the Roman god Mercury, who is quite volatile, just like your infection. It might explode, so get thee to an emergency room. Godspeed. And so I made haste, and I presently drove forthwith to the Now, here's another tip for you guys. I hope someone's jotting these down. If you're ever planning an unexpected emergency infection, schedule it early on a Friday and not during rush hour, because checking in to an emergency room during a pandemic on the cusp of a weekend is a really long and slow process. And there's not a lot of urgency in the emergency room as Friday slowly drifts into Friday evening. So that's my pointer to you. But they finally checked me in, and they said, stay right here, don't go anywhere. And which I couldn't do anyway, because I had so much pain my pain level was 7, which is really bad because it was on a scale of 1 to 5. So they said, stay here and just look at the back of the room. See over there at the back of the room, right there, there's a door. Keep your eye on the door at the back of the room. It's a big room, okay? It's people in misery, moaning and groaning as far as the eye can see, thanks to the back wall, which is non-see-throughable. And who knows what's on the other side of that magic door. And so I'm watching the door. So for an hour, just like this. So fast forward an hour, watching that back door. Finally, it opens and a nurse comes out and she says, Maria Amato? And a room full of people are looking around, and that's it. That's it. And then 20 minutes later, another nurse comes out and she says, is Maria Amato here? And so then I say, yeah, here. And here's another tip for you guys. Do not lie in the because they thought I was pregnant and they had some tools and equipment I'd never seen before. But eventually, what light through yonder doorway breaks, and it's a nurse finally comes calling my name. And by now I'm in a wheelchair. And so they finally wheel me through that back doorway. What is beyond that magic portal? And it's a trick because it's just a hospital. It's like the waiting room. It's the waiting room, or the emergency room, is just a waiting room to get into the hospital from another angle. It's like a side room to get into the club that everyone's trying to get into, and you're on the list. So I finally get into the hospital. And the first thing you want to do when you get into the hospital is get out of the hospital, because that place is like a haunted Greyhound bus station. It's bad. It says get out in the mirror when it fogs up. It's a scary place. And they said, you have this bad infection. We're going to have to operate. And I said, well, let's do it right now. And they said, we can't do it right now. It's too late. And I said, let's do it tomorrow. And they said, well, we can't do it tomorrow because of your insurance thing. We have to wait until Monday. And it was at that moment right then that my quick trip to the lab to get the MRI has suddenly transmogrified into a sleepover at the hospital. Little weekend getaway. No luggage, no problem. Here's a gown and a toothbrush and a nurse, which is great. I have a room with a nurse, and I don't know how to put this, but English wasn't her first language, which means she speaks more languages than I do. And that's not good bedside manner. That adds insult to infection. And I'm humiliated enough because I'm wearing that clown gown thing, which if you've been to the hospital for any extended period of time, you will quickly get used to that. It's like they did a shame-ectomy, because on Friday, I'm like, oh, don't look at my underwear. But by the end of the weekend, I'm like, does this catheter smell funny to you? It's pretty crazy. But luckily they have drugs. Drugs are legal at the hospital. And I don't mean like, Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. I mean like killer drugs that can kill you, like opioids that kill 50,000 people a year on the street. They have at the hospital on the menu. It's like, Oxy lady, here I come, coming to get you. It was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. But the actual surgery, which they were going to do on Monday, which is why I fasted all day on Sunday, and then they didn't have it on Monday. And so they had it on Tuesday, and then I stayed until the following Monday. I was there 11 days, but I don't remember the surgery at all, because they gave me something, one of these magic drugs, and they said, count backwards from 100. And I said 90, and then I woke up. And that's how they know what they're doing. I remember other people's surgeries better than mine. Like my wife, I'm married. Sorry, ladies and curious boys. I have a wife, and people ask, how did you guys meet? And what app did you use? That's app. What app did you use? And we met the old-fashioned way. I plundered her village. Anyway, my wife had surgery because she was in a bike accident on her bicycle, and her top of her femur snapped off in her hip. And they say the only thing worse than a broken femur is a wife with a broken femur, which is what I have. And it's no bed of roses, I'll tell you that, because for 2 weeks after the accident, you can't even sit down when you have wife with broken femur, because she's always asking you to get stuff. I need more meds. Okay, let me get it. Take me to the bathroom and adjust the bandages. And that's the first symptom. Ringing in the ears is the first symptom of wife with broken femur. And it just goes on and on. Drain the fluid bag, and I'm ready to eat. And it's good. It's good for the quads. And that's the only good thing about WBF. And I like my quads. I don't want to brag because I'm better than that, but I was on my high school cross country team for 5 years. Okay. So I know how important the quads are. And wow, look at that. We have a kid. I'm going to tell you about our kid real quick before we start to wrap it up. Are you guys having fun? I can't hear. So it sounds okay.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, thank you. We have a teenager, human, and you know what's great about teenagers? Me either. Her eating habits are like a mess. She will finish 50% of her dinner, whatever it is, and that's it. And so, like, if I give her a hamburger, she'll eat half a hamburger. So I'll give her half a hamburger, she'll eat a quarter. And I don't want to waste any food. So if I give her a quarter, she eats an eighth of a hamburger. And I know where this is going. Okay. I'm no Dumby. All right. This is turning into, it's called the Xeno Paradox, which is the stupidest of all the paradoxes. All right. Zeno, the ancient Greek philosopher Zeno, once told me that she'll never be able to eat because mathematically every number can be divided in half, and then that number can be divided in half, and so on to infinity. And so therefore I will be kind of locked into this process of dividing the food, and I'll never be able to feed her, which doesn't make any sense at all. And it proves how stupid the Xeno Paradox is, because she's already eating. She just happens to be eating half of what I want her to eat. And then that's when I had an epiphany. No, not an epiphany. I had a enchilada casserole. That's when I had an enchilada casserole, and I wanted her to have a scoop of it. So I gave her 2 scoops. All right. And then she ate them both and then wanted more, thereby proving my thesis, which is that her eating habits are a mess. No paradox required. That was a new special effect with the Xeno Paradox. All right. They told me they wouldn't pay me unless I did some jokes. So brought a couple jokes. Everyone sit down and listen up and give me 60 seconds. And then when we're done, I guess Jill, I'll send it back to Jill when we're done. Is that the plan? Somebody will tell me no. And if you guys want more, you can always go to robertmack.com. Maybe I should put that in the chat. But anyway, give me 60 seconds on the clock and go. How many landlords does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. Also, she won't fix the sink. I'm trying to meet new people. I belong to a gym. He's very possessive. Call him James. The next time you get some round trip airline tickets and they ask what your final destination is, say here. The round trip. I don't have time to explain all of these. I went to a silent auction. I got a dog whistle and 2 mimes. I wish I was the guy who invented hotcakes, because you know how well those things have sold. Yeah, like wildfire. Pass. My recently divorced chemistry teacher says alcohol is a solution. This one's really good or really bad, depending on whether you get it or not. So listen up extra close. I went shopping at a cherry stand and a microphone store. Bada bing, bada boom. Once when I was littler, we got a dog and a cat. The next day we named the dog Curiosity. I went to a dyslexic masseuse, really rubbed me the wrong way. 3 QAnon insurrectionists without masks walk into a bar. Do not go to that bar. And finally, I went to the bank the other day and said to the teller, I need $50. The teller said, withdrawal. So I said, I need $50. That's that. That's the time has come to be gone, I guess. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's turn it back over to Jill or,
Very good.
or Joseph. Is someone gonna?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you guys like
Good
that.
job. Thanks.
Thank you. Many, many thanks to our Adult Education and Culture Committee for sponsoring this this fun hour. And I hope everybody laughed and that you continue to laugh and that we are in person soon.
Thank you. And this is all Joseph's idea. If you want to thank Joseph, he's the one who found me through his friend David, who's also here. So thank you all. And
Thank you,
and have a
Robert.
good night.
Thank you very much. And
Awesome.
thank you, everybody,
Thank
for
you.
coming tonight.
Stay
Thank
healthy.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
great.
you, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Night. Thank you.
Night.
Adios.